Innovation and Design Thinking. IDT. VTU. Module 4. Design Thinking for Strategic Innovations. Business Challenges and Design Thinking Solutions. Growth Storytelling. By J. Babu. See the table. First column of the table shows business challenges and second column of the table shows design thinking solution for the corresponding business challenge. For example, for business challenge growth, the design thinking solution is storytelling. Business challenge 1. Growth. Growth is at the forefront of every business leader's mind. Most tend to utilize classic growth strategies to get there: new strategic partnerships, horizontal market expansion, vertical integration, product extension, and franchising. Although all these strategies are well known, how does an organization come to select one over the other as a means for growth? Once decided, how does a company focus its resources? And what are the implications for organizational design? The process of redefining the boundaries of business and making explicit decisions regarding who it will and will not serve often sparks intense debates around any growth strategy. There are no simple black and white answers to these questions, but design thinking can be used to bring clarity and align its business model to achieve maximum leverage. Philip Crosby, author of The Eternally Successful Organization, says growth is unavoidable if for no other reason than to accommodate the increased expenses that develop over the years. Inflation also raises the cost of everything, and retaliatory price increases are not always possible. Salaries rise as employees gain seniority. The cost of benefits rises because of their very structure, and it is difficult to take any back, particularly if the enterprise is profitable. Therefore, cost eliminations and profit improvement must be conducted on a continuing basis, and the revenues of the organization must continue to increase in order to broaden the base. Most organizations, however, aspire to grow in order to prosper, not just survive. Growth means different things to different organizations. There are many dimensions a company can select to measure its growth. Although the ultimate goal of most companies is profit, other financial data may be used as indications of growth. Some business leaders use revenue, earnings before interest, taxes, depreciation and amortization, product line expansion, employees, or other criteria to evaluate organizational growth. Growth is also the very essence of entrepreneurship, including corporate entrepreneurship. High growth leads to managerial complexity, so the alignment between shareholders, executive leadership, managers, and employees can quickly become choking points. Growth comes with the questions where a company's leadership, culture, systems, management, and business model can hold itself together. Growth needs a strategy, and every strategy needs a story. Most businesses develop specific plans that, over time, will move their business to a level that meets the goals of the executive team, the shareholders, and the investment community. Most businesses develop specific plans that, over time, will move their business to a level that meets the goals of the executive team, the shareholders, and the investment community. The reason why growth strategies are so vital is they keep things moving. And in business, if you are not going forward, you are going backward. Growth means creating a clear and compelling vision of the future. See the figure. Your vision needs to be very clear in terms of what you want from your business. How do we plan to attach an adjacency? How do we become the market leader? How about expanding to multiple geographies? And what's in it for managers and employees? Ultimately, The most meaningful yardstick is one that shows progress with respect to an organization's stated goals, whatever they are. So how do you develop your organization's stated goals? How do you develop the vision of where you want the organization to be in the future? Design thinking solution. Storytelling. People who most successfully practice design thinking are curious, imaginative, and filled with wonder. In short, they are people who love stories and people who love to tell stories. Stories reveal the hopes, dreams, and aspirations of authors, readers, populations, and cultures. They can also reveal the hopes, dreams, and aspirations of large organizations. The story of a company is what truly determines its purpose and value. The right story will always be more substantial than the right strategy because strategies are susceptible to the ingenuity of competitors, disruptive industry shifts, and bad luck while stories are impervious. If you write it, you own it. Every time a large-scale change effort fails, it's because management failed to connect with mid-level executives and employees in a meaningful way. They circulate memos. They produce corporate communication booklets. In short, they fail to tell a good story. Good storytelling is a technique where a leader is tasked with reframing an organization's past, present, future, problems, needs, desires, and hopes using a narrative built on salient metaphors to help people understand and connect with the company, its values, and its purpose. In a world when being strategic means being logical and fact-based, where do stories belong? They add an emotional dimension to business logic. If history were taught in the form of stories, it would never be forgotten. Rudyard Kipling. Stories foster empathy and connectedness. They prioritize information and objectives. They provide a clear beginning, middle, and end. They help us manage crisis. And they evoke our hardwired predisposition to process information faster and more holistically when presented to us in the form of a good story. The narrative structure of a story is a teaching tool that can make complex structures or relationships more easily accessible to an audience. Because the important ideas are set in a metaphor that people can easily understand, both storytellers and listeners can move past mysterious or secret details and focus on the problem at hand. The immediacy of the story helps people track the important relationships while empathizing with the subject. This allows for a richer experience and fosters greater insight into the nature of the organization, its place in its environment, and how the choices of its members contribute to its growth and success. Unlike more traditional commentaries on business growth, design thinking presumes that numbers cannot tell the whole story and that other means of communication are required to define and articulate the future. The design thinking approach believes that stories are uniquely useful in their ability to bring people onto the same page, organize information, and present it in an efficient and accessible manner. Often, many organizations suffer from a divide in the vision of what they actually are. Storytelling is a technique to harmonize the company's vision and translate the key elements of a strategy into a compelling and accessible narrative that connects the past with the present and the future in a cohesive way. So how do you tell a great story that will inspire senior executives and employees alike? Make it collaborative. Whether you engage multiple stakeholders in shaping the narrative and its presentation through some form of co-creation, or you simply gather inputs from employees at every level through informal conversations, it's important to ensure that elements of what you are about to tell resonate with the audience. No matter how fantastic, every great story has the familiar embedded within its structure. Make it engaging. The medium can make or break the message. What kind of media, experience, or event is right for your audience? To really drive home your message, you need to take your audience somewhere new with something new. Consider the simple power of videos, the tangibility of beautiful print, or out-of-office immersions in spaces or places that will inspire people through new experience. Make it structured. A narrative is employed in storytelling to arrange information in a logical structure that can be followed because we, as humans, are familiar with beginnings, middles, and ends. Because the storyteller and the audience know this structure, they are able to focus on the content of the story. When content flows, a good storyteller can communicate challenges and complex information in a format that is more clear and familiar to the audience. Just remember, the key content is the ending, what a company wants to be, where it wants to go, the future. Make it performative. A storyteller engages an audience through an oratory recounting of a narrative. An effective storyteller does not simply speak the words, but rather brings them to life by leveraging dramatic techniques such as body language, tone, tempo, and timing. Storytellers like Steve Jobs capture attention, suspend disbelief, and bring people deep into the emotional dimensions of a strategic narrative through their compelling performance and delivery. Make it tangible. People like stuff they can see and touch. To help illustrate intentions and what the future might look like, consider how technology demonstrations, prototypes, and other seeable and touchable artifacts can signal the strategic intentions of the organization and articulate how to move, grow, and transform in a particular direction. Make it fun. Build interactive narratives in the form of games or simulations that enable the audience to encounter stories in a holistic, self-guided, interactive way. These typically encourage the sandbox-like discovery of a growth narrative that is progressive, staged, or a hybrid of both. These serious games allow people to explore and experience the roles, tasks, and relationships within a clearly defined system of rules and understandable context. Make it realish. Fictiveness refers to how true a story may be. The fictiveness of a story is related to its plausibility, its applicability, and its potential to explain something. Even if it is entirely fictional, the listener can identify if it applies to real scenarios and the circumstances. The perfect fictive ratio for storytelling. Aim for a narrative that includes a vision of the future and possible growth that is just out of reach but that is grounded in a possible and plausible way. Such a story can then inspire and stretch while providing the information needed to guide your team. Building empathy and empowering transformation. Growth-oriented narratives help elicit emotional inputs and responses from stakeholders and can be used to infuse the organization with optimism or uncover anxieties about the future. This creates stronger internal bonds between stakeholders, both within and outside of the organization by using human-centric narratives to foster common purpose. Here, personal feelings, perspectives, assumptions, expectations, and aspirations can be shared, illustrated, and addressed by everyone involved. The resulting dialogue allows organizations to accommodate and unify a large number of diverse perspectives that may or may not initially align. This allows the newly energized organization to become more fluid, agile, and efficient through newfound, narrative-driven cohesion. A story is a mirror that reflects existing states of culture by illustrating how an organization currently operates, and stories can place an organization's existing culture within new contexts, highlight strengths and weaknesses, establish the purpose surrounding a vision for growth, and illustrate the transformation of roles. This gives stakeholders the chance to rehearse and prepare themselves for change. Furthermore, by hearing and engaging in growth-oriented stories, individual employees can recognize which new skills and capacities they will have to acquire, develop, or improve. They receive a very direct sense of which resources will have to be acquired and developed to pursue new goals and milestones.